Thanks for logging on to Wayne.com to talk hockey here on Inside the Zone alongside Blake Sebring. I'm Glenn Marini, and Blake, 10 games left in the regular season for the Komets. I've only got one question. We could actually do this segment in one question. Were we too excited about the team we saw in January at the end of December or halfway through February, or perhaps are we too down on the team we've seen the last couple of weeks?
That's what we're going to find out the last 10 games. I mean, that was my whole column today about how, I think this team, the whole thing is confidence, which you would never, ever expect to say about a three-time championship team with this many veterans and this many returning players from those teams. But it's confidence. When they want to and they believe they can, they're as good as anybody in the league. When they doubt when they get behind, they're as bad as any team in the league. It's just crazy. I mean, you think about it, the last two big road games they had, the last three really, okay? They get blown out of Dayton, 8-0. They get blown out of Bloomington, 6-2. They play like crazy. They outshoot Dayton like 32-17 at one point in the third period, and they're tied 1-1, and they lose in overtime. And that was in Evansville. Mm-hmm. And then they come back Sunday, and they just rip Evansville a new one. I mean, they were amazing. I mean, it was like a power play the whole game. There's no other way to explain it other than confidence. It's just if they have the confidence that night, like Matthew Curto said, when they're ahead, they're great. When they're behind, they're dead.
Well, when you take a look at what they've been able to accomplish this year, it does kind of start off with that top line that they have, because Petrasso's been really good the past couple of weeks. Kolinchuk's been fantastic since he came over. Same thing for Tab Lardner.
You know what?
But it seems like they need to get those other guys going. I mean, Leo had the overtime game-winning goal on Wednesday night, but they need more from the Leo-type guys.
They do. But let's go back to that first line. They've been getting creamed on the defensive end. I mean, they are just getting obliterated lately. They had a great game yesterday. But before that, they were like -7 and -6 and -8 for this last 5 games. I mean, it's like they have so much pressure on them to score because nobody else is scoring that they're forgetting about the defensive end somewhat. And they were just getting beat up on the defensive end.
I was not taking into account the defensive part of that because you're right. You mentioned it. They are the ones that are being looked at to do the scoring, the bulk of the scoring for this team.
Right, and because I wrote today that this season's going to come down to Kaylee Schrock, Sean O'Connor, PC Drew, and Leo Thomas and Matthew Curto. If those guys are on, they can beat anybody in this league. They can win any series, even if they don't have the home ice advantage. If those guys are as inconsistent as they've been the last 2 months, they're going to get beat in the first round. The Komets might not have 2 20-goal scorers on the team for the first time since 1954-55.
Wow.
I mean, you look at this lineup and you look at it on paper and you're like, there's 7-8 guys that can score 20 goals. And they might not have 2 of them. How crazy is that? They may not have a 30-goal scorer for the first time in, I think it's 42 years. It's just insane.
So somewhat of a historic season, not the way you would like it to be.
No, not at all.
You mentioned Kaylee Schrock there. Talk about where he is, because the x-rays this past week were negative. Deep bone bruise. Where is he at? Because nobody says, I'm 100% at this point of the season. It just doesn't happen in hockey, in the game. Where is he at physically? And also Craig Sescon, where is he at physically now? Well,
they both played yesterday. They both played a regular shift pretty much yesterday. Craig's got vertigo. And I don't know much about vertigo. I've seen guys who I know that's ended their careers, and I've seen guys who just went through it and were fine. I think having this week off until Friday will be really good for Craig. I think having this week off until Friday will be really good for Kaylee, too. Although Kaylee, and I do not mean this in any way disrespectfully, Kaylee is not a guy whose hands are the most important part of his game. His legs and his head are far more important to Kaylee's game than his hands. He's not going to score you 30 goals. But he can go out and bang and get in guys' heads, and maybe I should add his mouth to his brains and his feet, too.
There you go. He got a little Hodgman in him.
Yeah.
I think he did have 20 goals last year, if I remember. Surprised some people. So he can score.